Abhinandan Sekri, the co-founder and CEO of News Laundry, is joining me. Thank you, Abhinandan, for talking to me.
Thank you, Prema, for having me.
Abhinandan, the first question that I want to ask you is, you've released a statement and you've said that around 7 IT officials had visited your office a few days back on September 10th. On the same day, raids were also conducted in NewsClick's office. This is not the first time this has happened. You yourself have said in your statement that the first raid had happened in June. This time your personal data and data from the computers of your organizations were downloaded and you had no clue. You've said that you had no clue how much data was taken away. The taxmen have said that the raids have been done under Section 133A of the IT Act, which is related to the right of the IT department to conduct surveys. It is called power of survey. But under the power of survey rules, do these tax officials also have the right to download data from the personal phones and laptops of journalists?
Yeah, so, I think basically it's unfortunate that officials are used to intimidate journalists by the government. I'm sure, everyone, you, me, doctors, lawyers, government officials, they join the service hoping they'll do something of consequence. But this is what the use they're put to, which is rather unfortunate. Under Section 133, and after they left, I checked, I read the act, I read the section, and it clearly states that they can only copy data and take it that is related to the case. Right. Now, so personal data, they're not entitled to anyway. So at that time, because they are there, they say, give us access so that otherwise we'll have to issue another, warrant, we'll have to come to your house. They just make it uncomfortable. I said, okay, I'll open it. I have nothing to hide. You see, I'm not concerned about them finding anything because we go by the book. We don't break the law. We do everything in spite of the odds being stacked against news organizations as far as policy is concerned. We still abide by the law, absolutely.
Yeah.
But they have no business having my family chats. They have no business having my family photographs. They have no business having, personal. And tell me what is the case, because the act says that whatever is under investigation, they can take that. So they have to sit, and if it takes 5 days, it takes 5 days, but they can't take my personal data. So that's why we filed a writ in the High Court, and the court gave us a favorable order. They said they should not be allowed to leak this data. But the fact is, and I reserve the right to go at a future date to the court, they shouldn't have that data in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, would they be okay giving their family chats and family photographs and holidays to the government? I mean, are they okay with it? So I just find it bizarre that the kind of expectations that are kept of us, that, and yet we should keep quiet. We should, say, okay, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. I'm afraid that's not okay, and one should push back on that.
Yeah. Now, you've said that downloading your personal data is a violation of your right to privacy, which is completely understandable. The first time the IT officials had reached your office, that is in June, did they get back to you post that survey, and did they tell you what was the net result of that survey? And the second time when they did this, have you heard from them? Have you been told what has come of it? Do you really think that the power of survey rules of the IT department is being used or misused by the IT department to muzzle the media?
I think the IT department is just one agency. Governments, not just this one, but those in the past, have forever used, whether it is any other investigative agency, whether it's IT department, ED, to basically try to intimidate and bully news organizations into submission. It's unfortunate that's what they're used for, but that is what they are used for way too often. Now, that last time they came, the questions that they were asked to me this time were similar, if not the same. They asked for details of 3 years of balance sheets and accounts. We sent them that. This time they asked for the same thing. So basically you end up having to photocopy 300, 400 documents again. And then this time they'll give you an additional, notice that'll come the next day that also please explain each payment. So this payment has been made to XYZ journalist for this article. This has been made to this person for giving food. So basically they just inundate you with so much of paperwork that it compromises your primary task, which is to run a news organization.
Yeah.
So I mean, and let us know that this is what we're investigating, that this is the tax, problem that you've done? I don't even know. So it is the same, like, how do I know each investor? When did I meet them? What, like, questions under the sun which like go into 20, 30 pages. So I mean, it's clear when you got nothing, it's a fishing expedition now with that data. Like I said, they have no business having that data.
Yeah.
I mean, is it a fishing expedition? Are they going to? And then of course there are compliant news. And in fact, the Honorable High Court, the Honorable Judge said that when the lawyer there said that it is a bold apprehension that this will not happen, he says no, it has happened in the past. Completely irrelevant chats have been given to news organizations which they leak. So these are really petty tactics for a government to use. And it is unfortunate that this is the level of pettiness that the government of the largest democracy in the world has to use.
What is the biggest challenge for independent news organizations such as yours and mine in the light of these developments? What is the biggest challenge?
Also find, News Laundry and a few other news organizations have been served Section 133, someone have been served 131. Other than this, even if you've been served nothing, if you see over the last 4 or 5 years, the regulatory framework that they're making around digital news is so restrictive that rather than trying to make it easier to do, to run a news enterprise, they are making it harder. And it's not a coincidence. It's not like those people don't understand how this regulation impacts news. It has absolutely no impact on, what they say that it can damage this, it can damage that. See the damage so many hate channels do. In fact, the government's lawyer in the case of Sudarshan in Supreme Court, the cases against Sudarshan, he brings up, but what about digital? Bhai, case broadcaster ka hai, ek channel ka hai. So whether it is the IT rules which 2 high courts have put a stay on when it comes to news, whether it was the FDI rules, every rule that is being made is to how do we, and it's not to regulate, it's to control. Regulation is great because regulation makes the framework, the canvas more efficient. It makes it easier to do business. It makes it better for the consumer so that they get a better product. In this case, that may be news. That is the purpose of regulation. It is clear that none of these are for that. This is for control. That the government wants to control the narrative. Now, how can they control those who run news organizations? With legacy media, they have a hold over them because of ads. You see the number of government ads on front pages of newspapers when you see these special feature advertorial like 3 minute ke. So that is the lever they have on them. But for an organization that isn't depending on government ads, what lever do you have? Then you resort to this.
Yeah. So when organizations such as yours and mine, we completely are dependent on subscriptions or memberships. So this is the only way the government can control entities like
there's nothing else. Exactly.
So you've spoken about the Delhi High Court order. In fact, the Delhi High Court has instructed the IT department to ensure that your data is not leaked when it comes to your personal phones or laptops. But mostly these devices of journalists contain extremely sensitive data and confidential data. Now we've seen what has happened in we've seen what has happened in the Pegasus case. Do you think there are enough regulations in the country to protect journalists? What is the way forward?
On that, I think there needs to be more clarity on the right to privacy. Until the Puttaswamy judgment, it was grey. Even now, people construe it and interpret it in their own ways. I think privacy as a, and not just personal privacy, even privacy, like for example, my laptop has conversations with my lawyers regarding the case that has been filed on me by the Times Group or by the Sakal Group. There was an FIR lodged against my reporter in Pune. Now that is my privileged information. So not just personal, even professional. I have conversations with reporters about reports they're working on. The government has no business getting access to those. I mean, there could be investigations that we're working on. So I think privacy as a concept needs to really be protected a lot more, especially for professionals. I think the court came down heavily where there was that one lawyer whose whose office was he was defending a few people in the Delhi riots case. They came and seized some of his devices, and the court was not happy about that at all, because that involved someone who belongs to the fraternity. He's a lawyer. You can't just take access to the lawyer-client privilege, confidential information. So I think there needs to be really black and white, crystal clear, rules on privacy. And if breached, the government department that breaches that must be dealt with legally, very firmly. Because otherwise, what will you do? You'll end up turning this into a surveillance state. And that is not good for anyone, even the people who may be cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Because once someone does that, like even as this whole FDI thing, it was the previous government in wanting to control the narrative that had started down this road. Now this government has taken it to a different level. Now if those people who are cheerleading them think that when there's a change, any other government will say, "No, we are good people, we will not do this." They will take it to the next level. So it has to be stopped, because it impacts every citizen.
Yeah.
And there have to be clearly laid down rules on privacy, what they can and cannot have access to, and how.
Yeah. Now, in July this year, we also saw the IT department, which had raided the premises linked to Dainik Bhaskar Group and the Bharat Samachar channel. Now, the media organizations on their part, they have been saying that these are intimidation tactics. Do you think that most of these actions are being done very selectively?
It's hard to kind of get into the mind of who they choose, why they choose, when they choose. But I do believe the idea is that it sends out a message, because it does have a chilling effect among many people. Many people will say, okay, let me just tone down. I don't want this pachada. Many people may have some quibbling problem in their accounts. They may say they'll open this scrutiny mein chala jayega. So, so of course that is the aim. Who they do it to is irrelevant. The message is to go out to everybody. That's the whole aim. And logic behind who is raided, when they're raided, why they're raided beats me. It's clearly very partisan. There are bigger allegations against some news organizations that have cozied up to the government. I don't see any action against them. In fact, like I said, Sudarshan TV case, rather than talking about that case, the government's attorney was talking about digital, which was not even part of the case. So it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate that governments do it. It is unfortunate that officials have to carry out those diktats. And it is even more unfortunate that some citizens and news professionals either turn a blind eye or cheerlead this.
So when
it won't be good for anyone in the long run.
So when they had come to your office in June, and what did they really say after that? Did you hear from them? Did they tell you that this is what we found? These are the correct?
No, it was just they asked for some more documents after they went. They had taken a bunch of documents. They needed some more documents. They said, my personal filings for 3 years. I have to ask the bank won't give me that immediately of my statements of 3 years. So I had to get those. So then a notice comes by email. Then we sent them all the papers that they needed. So we sent them everything. See, nothing comes off. I know there's nothing about any specific key. Why is this there or why is that there? It's just a lot of paperwork. I have another friend, who also was served with this. I think 3 years ago. They are still sending like 400-500 pages every 3-4 months that they asked to send. It just inundates you with paperwork.
Yeah. So the government has now also come out with regulations to regulate OTT platforms and new regulations for digital news media organizations. Now, the Madras High Court had recently stated, you also spoke about it, they had stated the operation of 2 subclasses of the IT rules, which requires publishers of news on the internet or the OTT platforms to comply with code of ethics, and also a 3-tier grievance redressal mechanism, which is headed by the government. Now, the court has said that these rules completely hamper the right to freedom of speech and expression. Do you think the government has to now take a relook? It's time to wake up and smell the coffee and take a look at amending these harsh guidelines.
I hope so. Although I don't know whether you've received the email, but all digital platforms have received an email to register with one of the,
I have received it, yes. Yeah.
You received it. So clearly the court has stayed it, but the government seems, adamant to carry on. So luckily we do have the court that acts as a correction, which if one doesn't want to comply, they don't have to until this case is resolved. But the government should rethink it. I think you can't throw everyone under the bus. I mean, I'm not saying there needs to be no regulation of OTT. If there's regulation of cinema, sure, but you can't throw news, only everything under. You got to think it through. What is the policy? In fact, there was an informal, Zoom conversation with the representative of the INP ministry and a lot of digital players, and there were some OTT players there as well. And there was an acknowledgement that yes, some of these rules don't add up. For example, I raised this point that in the IT rules, they have also added defamation. So now I am fighting a case in court on defamation, which the Times Group has put on me. Now, if someone complains through this mechanism, right, and it reaches the government's committee, the interministerial group that is supposed to look at this, they rule one way and the court rules the other way. Are they saying that they will overrule the court?
Yeah.
It hasn't been thought through. There are so many significant flaws with the way this is drafted that it cannot even work efficiently. There are so many digital players. So this committee, suppose, internet trolls inundate us with hundreds of complaints and all of them get escalated to this committee. So this committee will look at 5,000 complaints a day. It's so easy to short circuit the system. So because this system is so beyond being able to work efficiently, it is clear it was never intended to work efficiently. The intention is to selectively target those who don't toe your line.
Yeah. Now, we've spoken about these mails. So you've been receiving these mails. I've received a couple of mails. So one of the rules, it basically says that a grievance redressal officer must be appointed, which is fine. But the law says it must be a 3-tier system. And we must send the government monthly report cards on the number of grievances received, the action taken on those grievances, and many other things. Now, the digital news media organizations are usually smaller organizations with limited number of staff. Mine is a startup. Now, yours again, we are all small organizations with limited number of employees. How viable are these rules really? What are the other rules that you think have been imposed on digital news organizations which you think the government may have to take a relook on?
See, I think the government should take a relook on the entire regulatory framework around digital. Whether it is the IT rules, whether it is code of ethics, whether it is the structure of companies, whether it is FDI, they should. It is a sensible thing to do. Will they is a separate question. Now, specifically about that we have to send a monthly report card. How about they send a monthly report card, how many they've dealt with and how? It's not just we who are inundated.
Yeah.
A small startup like yours, which has maybe 8-10 people, you have one person dedicated filing these reports, filings karo. Meanwhile, all the danka bajao, that ease of doing business. Ask any business person, not just in the news space, when they're not on television, parroting what the government wants them to say, that how easy is it to do business in this country, then you'll know the reality. But ease of doing business. Now, here's one thing. There are thousands of news organizations, digital, in the country. You're saying we have to give a monthly report card. Now, the ones that get escalated to them, the government will just have one committee. I'd like them to give a report card.
On what?
In one day.
Yeah.
In one day, 5,000 reaches. Are you guys going to tell us what was the RTI minutes? The PM Cares Fund doesn't want to be held to scrutiny. I mean, it is a joke. It has become a farce. No one even takes this seriously anymore. And the danger with that is when you make rules that are so ridiculous that people stop taking them seriously. It is a question of time before they start taking all your rules less seriously. It's not good even for the government.
Yeah.
But that havas of intimidation, of control is so much that there is no long-term thinking.
Yeah. So my last question, since you said that there was a representative from Government of India and it was an informal conversation, my question is why an informal conversation? So when the guidelines were framed for the OTTs, the Internet and Mobile Association of India, they came forward and they said that they were not consulted. When the rules for digital news media organizations were made, the stakeholders, again, there was no formal consultation. Don't you think
Absolutely.
a consultative approach with the stakeholders will enable the government to frame guidelines, also keeping in mind the challenges that the OTT platforms or the digital news platforms will face?
Absolutely. But that assumes that the rules are being made in good faith, that they're being made so that the system can work better. And that assumption, according to me, is wrong. They're not being made in good faith. I brought this up in this, that, when the rules are drafted, rather than have this informal consultation after the rules have already been put and notification has been made, why didn't this conversation happen earlier? The answer I got was, let's not look at the past, let's look at the future. It's a nothing answer. I mean, it doesn't solve a problem. And if we are looking at the future, then let's look at what is wrong with this. Have they redrafted it? Have they said, okay, we will redraft this bit? Like I said, there are some legal issues. Is this committee saying that they can overrule the courts of India when they have issues in it that are actually the purview of the courts? So, I mean, it's unfortunate. It would be wise for everybody, including governments, for the country, for the citizens, for professionals. I mean, look at, they're saying everyone should create jobs. Are you providing an environment to create jobs? This ICMR, I think that's the report, like which said that in the last 5 years, about 70% of media jobs have gone. News organizations are shutting down bureaus. They are shutting down so fast. There is no auto giants are shutting down. People who can provide jobs and are trying, you're making it hard for them.
Yeah.
The government itself is unable to provide jobs. So this is all for what? To what end? Is the end that we just want to control the narrative so that we all bajao tali for the government? Is that the point? And it is very unfortunate that not enough people speak up about this.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Abhinandan, for those wonderful insights, and thank you for talking to The Probe.
Thank you, Prema, and good luck to The Probe.
Thank you. Thank you.